A very good afternoon to our tutor, Dr. Zamri, and all my fellow classmates. So today our group 6 is going to present about the topic reliability and validity. Our question is, reliability and validity are two important aspects in test quality. Explain three differences between reliability and validity. Provide example for each explanation. And also discuss factors that influence the content validity of a test. So here is are my group member. So the first one is me. My name is Siang, and my group members are Lai Lei Ling and Samuel Shuang. So today's I will only focus on the first part of the question 6a. There is explain three differences between reliability and validity. So before I go to the three differences between reliability and validity, so I would like to give a brief explanation about the reliability and validity. So the reliability actually refer to so now if the same result can be consistently achieved by using the same method under the same conditions, so we can consider it to be reliable. While for the validity, it is referred to, so now if the test has a high validity, that means it produces the result that correspond to real properties, characteristic, and variation in the physical or social world. So now we can conclude that the reliability actually it is about the consistency of the measurement, and the validity is about the accuracy of the measurement. So now here shows the four pictures about the reliability versus the validity. So the first picture, so now we can let each black dot here to represent each result that we obtain from the test. So the first picture shows that each result that obtained from the test actually it is similar or the same. So we can say that it is reliable, but the result that produced from the test is actually further away from the center, that is not accurate. So we can say that it is invalid. So the first picture shows the reliable but invalid. And the second picture, each result produced from the test, actually it is different from each other. So it is actually not unreliable, but the result is surrounding the center that is surrounding the accurate value, so we can consider it to be valid. So this picture shows unreliable but valid. And the third picture, the result produced from each test, actually it is similar to each other, and it is located at the center that is closer to the true value. So this picture shows reliable and valid. And the last picture shows that the result produced from the test, it is not clustered together, and it is spread away from each other, and it is different from each other, so it is unreliable, and it is away from the true value also, and it is invalid. So the last picture shows it is actually unreliable and invalid. So until now, I hope you guys can get some ideas on the reliability versus the validity. So now I will go into the three differences between reliability and validity. So from here we can see that the reliability and validity are two important aspects in the test quality, and both of these are used to indicate how tests measure something. So the first differences between the reliability and validity is, reliability refers to the extent to which the results can be reproduced when the test is repeated under the same conditions. So means that, so if we need to repeat several times, we need to repeat the test several times and obtain the final result. And if the result that we obtain is actually similar or the same to each other, then we can consider it reliable. And while for the validity, it refers to the result really measure what they are supposed to measure. So the second differences between the reliability and validity is, reliability refer to the checking the consistency of result across time, across different observers, and across parts of the test itself. Like just now I mentioned in the previous slide, so the if you want some method, some test to be consistent, then the result that we get should be always similar or the same to each other or consistently, but not showing some very different from each other. But for the validity, it is referred to the checking how well the result correspond to establish the theory and other measure of the same concept. Means that if you want to know that whether the result that we obtain from the test is accurate or not, we can actually compare the result that we get, compare it to the relevant data or the theories. So if the result is accurate, that means it is valid. And the last difference between the reliability and validity is a reliable measurement is not always valid. The result might be reproducible, but they are not necessarily correct. Means that the result that we get, if it is similar to each other, we can say it is reliable, but usually sometimes it would be not accurate, maybe because of some of the method that you use is incorrect and so on. But for the validity, a valid measurement is generally reliable. Means that if the result produced is accurate and it is a valid measurement, and usually it is considered reliable also. So these are the three differences between the reliability and validity. So I hope you guys can understand about it. And next, my group member, Lai Lei Ling, will continue with the example. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Lai Lei Ling. I could like to provide the explanation for each differences that are provided by my group member just now. For the first differences, I could like to summarize that a result is reliable when we always get the same result if we repeat the test for several times under the same condition. Meanwhile, a result is valid if we get what we're supposed to get. I give an example. This is a mathematics test by 10 students. The mathematics test result above shows that in every 3 tests given to the students, each of them obtained an almost the same marks as the previous test. Therefore, this result shows that it is reliable since the students obtain the similar result as the repeated test for students. I take Lily as example. She gets 60, 62, and 65 marks for the 3 tests, test 1, test 2, and test 3 respectively. So I can conclude that Lily get a reliable test mark. I proceed with second differences. For the second differences, to know whether a test result is reliable or not, we need to check the consistencies of the result across time, across different observers, and across part of the test itself. Meanwhile, by checking the accuracy of the result, we can know whether a test result is valid or not. I give an example. When you measure the temperature of the liquid sample several times while performing experiment in the laboratory under the same condition, means that under the same temperature and pressure, the result is considered reliable if the temperature that we get always the same. The result is considered valid if it is similar or close to the standard value. I proceed with the third example for the third differences. For the third differences, I could summarize that a valid measurement is generally reliable, but a reliable measurement is not always valid. I give an example. I take the science laboratory as an example. Use 25.0 pipette to pipette 25.0 milliliter of water into a measuring cylinder. Repeat the test for 5 times. The reading of measuring cylinder is recorded in the table below. From the table, we can see that the volume of the water pipette is always 25.0 milliliter, but the volume of water in measuring cylinder is 26, 27, 25, 24, and 23 milliliter respectively for 5 tests. Although the result shows the volume of water pipette is 25.0 milliliter, but the reading taken in the measuring cylinder is 23 to 27 milliliter. The result is reliable but not valid, since the exact volume pipette is 25.0 milliliter. This may due to the parallax error. I could like to explain a little bit about the parallax error. Parallax error. A student could get a lower reading if he or she observes the reading from higher position, and oppositely, a student can get a higher reading if he or she observes the result from the lower position. This is parallax error. Therefore, the result is reliable but not valid due to the parallax error. So now I would like to pass the slide to my group member Samuel Shuang for question 6b. Thank you.
Thank you, Leiling, for passing the floor to me. I am Samuel Shuang, and I will be continuing with question 6b for my group. Question 6b is discuss factors that influence content validity of a test. So, before going further, I would like to give a brief introduction to those who still not yet understand what is about validity. Validity is a measure or a stance of appropriateness, correctness, meaningfulness, usefulness of a test item constructed in a test. By educational means, validity can be split into three main types. The first type is content validity, second, construct validity, and the third one, criterion-related validity. So, today we'll be putting our focus on content validity and discussing the factors influencing it. So, a brief introduction to content validity. Content validity is the extent to which a test measures a representative samples of subject matter content and the behavioral change under consideration. In the other way, we can say that content validity concerns primarily the adequacy with the test items adequately and representatively sample the content area to be measured. Okay, so our group has listed 5 factors that influence the content validity of a test. So the 5 factors include: number 1, functioning content and teaching procedure. Second, length of the test. Third, test item appropriate for the content standard being measured. Fourth, poorly constructed test item. And fifth, ambiguity. Alright, let's move on to the factors and see the discussion. First one, functioning content and teaching procedure. When constructing a test item, teacher must make sure that the content area is fully taught before including in the test. So the functioning content cannot be only determined by the table or specification, which is to determine whether the representative sample is suitable for the examination to be held. But we also have to make sure that the content is well taught to the student first. And the test item should not consist of items where solving it. For example, if the teacher wants to give a year-end examination including the simultaneous equation in 2 linear equation for from 1 mathematics, the teacher should teach all the solving methods, which are elimination and substitution, first before the teacher can put it into the examination. Although a subject can be taught by a few teachers, but every teacher must make sure that the content is taught first before every teacher can use the same test item. Second is the length of the test. So a length of the test will also affect the content validity of a test. The Test represents a samples of many questions, covers intended content standards and various domain. Domain here is means by all level of difficulty based on Bloom taxonomy, from the lowest level of understanding to the highest level of create. Okay, so the length of the test also affects the content validity. If a test is constructed and only one question for each chapter, then this test is considered to be very short, which is not enough to cover all the intended content standard of a test. Let's say if it is a year-end examination, okay? So, what the teacher should do is, for example, when setting a year-end examination which covers all of the content standard, the teacher must equally distribute all the number of questions to the content standard which is important to the least important, and each question can be successfully tested on student, which will increase the content validity of the given test. Third, test item inappropriate for the content standard being measured. So what is meant by this? When trying to measure complex learning standard means that when you want to construct a question which consists of more than one content standard, then you want to make this question into a hot type, higher order thinking skill. And usually, the test form that the teacher create is only appropriate to test for measuring factual knowledge. It is not suitable to test hot question. So, the test item that is inappropriate to determine the content standard as well is not valid by content of the test. So what the teacher should do, the teacher should craft real-life context of non-routine problem instead of putting routine problem such as solving quadratic equation where students already have the algorithm procedure. And if students use only this method to solve the given question, that is not a appropriate test item. Instead, there is only such as exercise. So if the teacher wants to test a student and makes the exam valid, the teacher should include real-life context non-routine problems. The fourth one, poorly constructed test item. This would also affect the content validity of the test. A test items which provide unintentional clues to answer is said to be poorly constructed test item because this type of question, they don't measure students' knowledge on the given test item. Instead, people with high awareness score better than high achievement. Means that if, let's say, the question consists of unintentional clues to the students which are very aware of the odds of the questions, then they will get the answer correct instead of those who can solve the question well. Alright, so for example, teachers should prevent options of 3 long 1 short or 1 long 3 short or typing error in the question. Usually, this type of unintentional clue is always transparent to the student and student might get it very quick instead of us constructing the test item. The last one, ambiguity. Ambiguity leads to misinterpretation, differing interpretation, and confusion. Okay, ambiguity in other words is that the test item consists of segments which are very contradicting. Some students understand it in the first way, while other students interpret it in other way. So, to prevent the content validity of the test to be being dispersed, teachers should make sure that the statement is not ambiguity. So, if ambiguity exists in the test item, it would confuse better students more than the poorer one. Better students have better understanding of the test item given. Instead, poorer ones they don't. So, if better students read such ambiguity statement, they would become even more confused than the poorer one, because plural one, they don't understand at all. Sorry. Okay, so to make sure that the statement is not ambiguity, teachers should use correct grammars and highlight. Maybe they can bold or italic the important information such as values, data, equations, diagrams. Everything that is important, they should put the highlight on it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the forum that we have posted on, and feel free to PM us if you need inquiries. Thank you to Mr. Zamri, and thank you to my fellow classmates for your attention. See you again soon.